G'day everyone, here's my review for Lone Wolf, written by Doug Garrett with art by Jeff Lasley. Letters are by David A.J. Burner, who also edited the book. Lone Wolf is a story of a Native American monster or demon hunter. It's not clear. The story starts with him reflecting on the myriad of signs he's observed recently, dead cattle and disturbed graves, saying they all can't be a coincidence. He happens upon what looks like a zombie, which he calls a ghoul. He's suddenly surrounded by ghouls and fights his way out. He draws a 6-shooter and kills the ghouls with it. Where his bullets hit seem to explode with flames, so at this point I'm, as the reader, guessing the weapon is enchanted or otherwise supernaturally effective against the undead. He also punches a ghoul so hard that its eyeball flies out, so I won't rule out some sort of superhuman strength yet either. The scene is the first of a few with clunky transitions. Transitions aren't always easy to do. I've seen pro comics handle them poorly, and it was a primary legitimate concern I heard from people regarding your boy Zach's writing on Jawbreaker's Lost Souls. If Lone Wolf come up behind the ghoul, how did he get surrounded? Where'd those zombies come from? If he's been doing this for a while, which it would seem he has since he knows about supernatural signs and ghouls themselves, how did he get ambushed? Furthermore, what's happening here? He's grappling with the ghoul, the car takes off, and then the ghoul is on the ground. His gun is empty. How did he take the ghoul down? I know when you're strapped for space it can be difficult to fit everything you want on a page, especially when you're on a budget. I'm seeing that with my own books. When the money for each page comes out of your own bank account, there is the temptation to truncate events or simplify things to accommodate the story and the available real estate. Lone Wolf follows a suspicious car that was near the graveyard because he thought it looked suspicious. He tracks it to what looks like a storage unit or a garage. I think this panel is the guy is tracking, watching Lone Wolf arrive from within the building. But since we haven't seen the driver of the car, and both him and Lone Wolf have long dark hair, it kind of looks like Lone Wolf is suddenly in the building, or flashing back to a time he stood alone in a dusty room looking out of a window. The door of the building has the words "something real" scrawled on it. This book's already got a kind of surreal, dreamy feel to it. I think Doug Garrett could push that surreal feeling, the unrealness of the narrative, with more odd messages in strange places, with warnings or clues. It was really effective in Silent Hill 2. Maybe the messages are something only Lone Wolf can see. Is he mad or touched by the supernatural? There are a few directions the writer could be going with this, or it could just be my wishful thinking. The driver of the car gets the drop on our hero. Lone Wolf turns around and comes face to face with him. I was liking the book up to this point. It was a pretty straightforward monster hunting story with some unique stylized artwork that has a really tactile, organic feel. Unfortunately, Doug Garrett decides to just jump straight into flashback mode. 5 pages of flashback, detailing Lone Wolf's youth, his fierce warrior mother, his white father, and the bad men who came along and destroyed everything he ever knew. I don't think we needed to know this. I think it'd work better with the identity of the driver being a little more of a mystery. The prolonged flashback does clue us in that Lone Wolf is long-lived, and so is the driver, who is at least partially responsible for Lone Wolf's family being killed. I don't know what Doug Garrett has planned for the rest of this tale and future Lone Wolf stories, but I prefer a big bad like this, one linked to the protagonist's origin, the one that they really want revenge on, to be utilised in a second or a third season or story. When the guy who killed your family, the guy you lived to get revenge on, shows up 10 pages into your first comic, it feels like I'm watching the Daredevil movie, you know, where they took the most well-known, sprawling Daredevil epic and crammed it into 2 hours and 13 minutes. If Lone Wolf kills his nemesis and gets closure in the first arc, what's left for him to do? Pacing-wise, I think it's better to leave those more personal stories until after the character has been established. That goes for the flashbacks as well. I'd like to see some more show don't tell here. Again, this is all probably on account of the page real estate. There's only so much space in a single issue, but it is the first issue. In the first issue, I want to see balls-to-the-wall action. Have your protagonist do the coolest shit you can think of. It's the formula most modern Bond and Mission Impossible movies use. An opening scene of a character rock climbing while fighting terrorists or leaping from a crane while defusing a bomb. Something to let us know they are a badass. The flashback can wait. In fact, 9 of the 24 pages of this book are flashbacks. That's over a third of the book. Instead of that, give me more pages of Lone Wolf hunting monsters, using his powers or his unique knowledge of the undead to track and fight them. If you have to, give him a temporary sidekick that he can explain stuff to for the reader's benefit. At this point, I still don't know for sure if Lone Wolf has powers, what a ghoul is, what causes them, if the signs he mentioned are referring to them or something larger and more sinister. I don't feel grounded yet, and we're almost 2/3 into the book. You can get away with the whole implied information thing so long as the implications are consistent and confirmation is provided one way or the other. By the end of this book, we still haven't got most of these questions answered. After a flashback to how his parents were killed and who did the killing, as well as his best Kazuya Mishima impersonation, Lone Wolf draws his gun and fans the hammer and sends 6 shots right through his parents' semi-immortal killer. I've got the free black and white version of this book, so maybe colours clear it up, but I actually thought these 2 panels were one panel. and Lone Wolf was somehow using a third hand to judo chop his own gun out of his hands. There's yet another tricky transition here, and again, colours might clear this up, but the driver of the car seems to suddenly have guns while Lone Wolf has lost his and dives for cover. In none of the panels does the driver have holsters for the gun, so unless they are magic constructs that he summons, which is possible, or if he somehow grabbed them off Lone Wolf, I don't know how he got them. I'm not even sure Lone Wolf had 2 guns, we've only seen him with 1 so far. The driver shoots at a diving Lone Wolf who takes cover behind the Cadillac. The driver is quite a distance away from the caddy, but suddenly Lone Wolf's right in front of him again, punching him and not getting shot. Lone Wolf is wondering how this guy is still alive with 6 smoking bullet holes in his chest. I probably would have had him mention that the guy was out of ammo and how Wolf needed to close the gap between them and finish the fight with his fists before the driver reloads so this panel wouldn't be so awkward. Narration and speech can go a long way to filling the gap in art, especially those caused by a limited page count. I think both Stan Lee and your boy Zach mentioned in interviews how as a writer you can just wave away all sorts of inconsistencies with a single narration box. People want to accept a story, they want to follow a narrative. I do all the time in my prose stories. When character A has to relay a bunch of information to character B, and it's information we as the readers already know, I just write something like, John caught them all up, all at once. He told them about the ghost, the book and the old man. He told them about Lynn's attack, even though he still didn't really believe it himself. Bam, all caught up, no retreading stuff we already know. Lone Wolf is beating the driver like it's his job. He knocks him down and then he has his gun back ready to shoot again, even though he recognises it didn't really work so well last time. The driver taunts Lone Wolf, telling him he wouldn't understand what he is. This lets us, the readers, know that he is something beyond what Lone Wolf already knows, something beyond the ghouls we already saw. The driver leaps up and stabs Lone Wolf and takes off with his jacket and gun, I think. Now we get to the second half of the flashbacks and some answers. I'll be honest, there was a lot of text on this page, and without colours or some Will Eisner panel variation or even some greater contrast of black and white tone, my eye was really confused. Add to that a lot of narration boxes and the fact that I was already tired of flashbacks, I just kind of skimmed these pages the first time I read them. What I got out of it was Spirit Guide, Chosen One, granted powers to fight the darkness. We learn that the Spirit Guide is Lone Wolf's predecessor who passed his gift to Wolf when Wolf was just a baby. Wolf has been chosen to protect the land from supernatural menaces as well as mortal ones. One cool thing we see here is that the power Wolf is granted is usually shared between 5 people, but for whatever reason he has the full burden of this gift. Lone Wolf remembers the driver's name is Mad Dog as he heads to the nearest road to hitch a ride while vowing to never stop searching for him. I like the juxtaposition here, showing a young Lone Wolf and the present-day Lone Wolf under the same moon. Wolf bums a lift, and that's the end of the first issue. Doug Garrett leaves us with plenty of unanswered questions, which can be a motivating force to get the reader to pick up the next issue. How has Mad Dog survived all this time? What is the source of his immortality? He implies he gets paid for killing people, but does he have a bigger agenda? Lone Wolf has a power of 5 guardians. What does that look like? What's he capable of? What are the limits of his immortality? Lone Wolf is upset that Mad Dog took his colt. Why? Is it special? What can it do? We have lots of questions and only one way to get answers, to buy the next issue. The art has a very unique organic style. There are a few places where it goes above competent to be really good. The lettering is very tight and efficient. The placement works well with the art and it flows nicely. The flashbacks. Oh man, the flashbacks. I think they'd work better if they just skipped the first flashback altogether. Maybe include that 5 pages further down the line or summarise it during the dialogue somewhere in a later issue. It could be a free teaser to entice people to buy into Lone Wolf. But as a piece of storytelling, I think it was too long, too sudden, too much, and not enough show. The art. I'm not a huge fan of the art. There are a few nice pieces in there, but I don't know if it's the inks Lasley uses or the way the art was scanned, but you can see every brushstroke and line of pen. Maybe that's what Garrett wanted, a rough, painterly style, but it kind of makes it look like a high school art project to me. The transitions are hard to follow in several places. Sometimes authors need to realise that they have all this implicit knowledge of the story and the character and the events that occur in their heads that a casual reader doesn't. Does Lone Wolf have 1 gun or 2? Where did his guns go? Where did Mad Dog get his guns? Where did Mad Dog's guns go? Where did Lone Wolf get that gun from? If he had it all the time, why not use it earlier? When did he reload? This might seem petty to some people or even harsh criticism, but writing, comics or prose, is an act of tricking someone into living the story with you. They are witnesses. They want to escape and spend some time in the world you created. Every time you drop the ball, every time you include an element that draws the reader out of your story, being it a spelling mistake, clumsy slang or accents, unusual names, out of character or outdated language, you allow them to enjoy it less and less. You want them turning pages, eager for the next page and the next one after that, and then the next issue. Every time you do something wrong, it draws them out of the story and reminds them that it's not real. A few narration boxes could have fixed some of these issues, but not all of them. Again, I think they came from limits on how much page space and the number of pages the artist had at his disposal. David Byrne is credited as editor, and I think there are a few places he really could have stepped in and tried to help the rest of the team rethink some of their choices. Garrett's writing sets up mystery, but it does so by purposefully omitting information. There's a lot we don't know that maybe we could or should. Some of this stuff should have been hinted at. I'm worried Garrett is doing what I see so many Netflix and streaming shows do these days. They leave so much out. They imply so much with the intent of filling in the blanks episode or next issue. That's pace for the trade thinking. That's binge-watching thinking. How long is it between issue 1 and issue 2 when you're crowdfunding? What if issue 2 never comes around? Is this a story you want to tell? It reminds me of that bit from Walk the Line. Is this the one story you'll tell if you only had one story to tell? Too often writers think being implicit, being cagey or sparse with information makes their writing seem more realistic, and it certainly can. Lots of movies and shows do this now, having all the characters talk to each other like we're not there. James Ellroy is a master of this. Along with the authentic, era-appropriate language and slang, some of his characters' conversations are so realistic they become obtuse, and I can't actually tell what they're talking about. Reading two Ellroy characters talk is like travelling through time. A lot is left to your imagination, and the worlds he creates are so grimy, you're thankful for it. The implicit bit, where you withhold information from the readers because the character already knows it, works best if you reveal what the readers want to know at a later time, but preferably in the same issue or story. You can leave the reader hanging if there is enough information for the reader to guess or draw their own conclusions. I found myself guessing a lot during the first issue of Lone Wolf, and few of my questions were answered. Will they be answered in issue 2 and beyond? Maybe. And maybe I'll pick it up and read it. I'd like to thank you all for your time, especially if you made it this far. There's more content than ever out there these days, and if you chose to spend some of your valuable time here with me for a while, then I'm very grateful. Please hit the thumbs up button, comment below to leave your opinion and help the algorithm. Feel free to hit the subscribe button if you like this sort of content and want to see more. I'll have more comic book reviews, particularly crowd-funded comic reviews, as well as writing workshops and time-lapse art videos up soon.